for the Olympics in July. And then less than 2 weeks later, 4 days before you were heading back into England camp for WXV prep, your dad passes away from lung cancer. 2 days into camp, you rupture your ankle ligaments. 12 weeks out. And lucky for us, this meant that you were very available for the good, the Scaz and the Rugby in that period.
The car was born?
The Barbie car emerged from that ankle ligament period.
Some of my good work, that was some good stuff.
Some of the best work you've ever done. I mean, like the Six Nations now pales in comparison.
Yeah.
And then you make it back onto the pitch over the autumn, and your mum passed away at the start of December. And then there's the big game, and the big game performance that was just sensational over Christmas. It's January 2025. A lot of people find January a very tough time, a very dark time of the year. And here we are, and you are having the bravest, biggest conversation at a time of the kind of grief that I can't even begin to imagine. Talk us through what it's been like over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I've never really faced much adversity, I would say, in my life. So this was kind of all new to me when my dad got diagnosed in January 2024. So it was almost like I was grieving my dad while he was still alive. We didn't realise how quick it was going to be. So that was a massive, turning point for me. But I've always used rugby for... It's always been I say escape, but I'm not escaping from anything. It just meant I could kind of switch off and be who I felt like that gave me the identity that rugby's given me. So I've always had that. And I think particularly when my dad got diagnosed, nothing else really mattered to me. Like rugby did matter, but being there for my dad and my family was what mattered to me the most. And that was kind of the first time I've ever felt that, because we can digress a little bit later, but I carried a lot of like shame and embarrassment of my family growing up without me actually knowing, because I was going through trauma with my mum because she was an alcoholic and she was an addict, obviously. And then that kind of, my dad passed away, and I thought that was kind of like the worst thing in the world. And then the injury didn't matter to me. I actually thought it was the best thing that could have happened to me when I did get injured.
You were so sanguine about it when it happened as well. You were so self-aware. You were like, this is, just life telling me slow down a little bit.
100%. And I am such a person of what will be. And I think everything happens for a reason. You learn through all these, I've had an ample amount of injuries and I've learned so much through each one. And this was just another one of those lessons for me. And then my mum passed away, and that one, it really hit home as well. Like, I think, like, I'm not going to be the first or the last person that's ever going to lose two parents or lose anyone. But for me, it kind of hit me, obviously, a lot harder because what my mum was going through as well. And there's loads of emotions that you feel. And it's kind of the first time I've ever felt grief and realised how impactful it was to speak about it, because speaking about it, one, helps me. Like, it's really helpful for me as an individual to understand it, but also for others, because there's no right or wrong. There's no written book for it. It's genuinely how you feel, and people will take longer. Like, I know my brother and sister are taking longer with it. And, we live in a westernized culture as well, where you're kind of told to crack on. And the first time, and I learned a lot from my dad passing away to my mum's, albeit only 4 months. When my dad passed away, I thought, I need to get straight back into rugby. Like, don't worry about anything else. I just crack on, put my head down. But actually, that was the worst thing to do. So then with my mum, I took some time. And I say it took time, it took a couple of weeks, if that really. But I slowed down and just completely left everything at arm's length. So yeah, crazy year, because I always say it, I'm not a sad person, and I hate being that sad person. So I've actually started understanding sadness for the first time, really, which is, it's strength in its own, I guess, weird ways, is learning that. Because I'll always say as well, I've always been on like an empathy journey, because I've realised how powerful it is. And probably in my younger years, I didn't express that much empathy for others, whereas I've tried to work on that and understand others. And then this is really, they say life throws lessons at you, and this has been a massive lesson for me, because, yeah, there's just so much I feel like I'm learning from this process of going to therapy and reflecting on myself and feeling my emotions, sitting with my emotion, understanding that emotions will pass, understanding you'll never know what someone else is going through, because I'm willing to put a front on most of the time, and actually 90% of the people I would have hung around with wouldn't have even known what I was going through. So yeah, it's just a big perspective piece, really, and I think that's just how I've tried to flip it in my brain. So yeah, can't remember what your question was, but I think that was kind of part of it.
It's really brave, flexing that sadness muscle, not one that you are used to using.
No, not at all.
No,
and I think it's important to be sad, and I not like I've never been sad in my life, but it's like I'm now willing to be sad. And you know, when people say, "Oh, how are you?" I'm willing to say, "Oh, I'm sad today. I'm feeling sad today." But I'll still show up, and you know, because I think that's something I'm always capable of doing, is switching on and off. Again, no right and wrong, but I'm willing to express that today I'm feeling a bit sad, or today I'm feeling anxious. You know, I never felt like I felt anxiety before, but I started having like sleep, kind of like panic attacks. Like I was really struggling to sleep, and my heart was like heavy, and I was like, oh, I've never really experienced that in my life. And again, just another emotion that I'm now able to feel and actually be relatable with others. So yeah, I just keep seeing it as a lesson, but also trying to understand it a bit more as well.
In all of this, you have gained a family member, and that is Joey, your mum's dog. Your mum lives in Cardiff.
Caerphilly, yeah, but yeah.
And Joey was her dog. And we have a picture of Joey here on the set. Joey's been a regular on the gram over the last few weeks as well. Joey's face, honestly.
Yeah, he's lovely, isn't he?
He is just too cute.
He's adorable.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So Joey, you are now a dog?
I'm now a dog, yeah, I say dog dad, Celia's dog mum, which is kind of funny. But we're cat people, we're kitty people. And
even though it always feels like you're teasing me.
No way, never. But so yeah, like it was kind of a no-brainer, because I went to get, my mum was struggling with grieving my dad. She actually wasn't with my dad. They'd been divorced for 10 years, but she really struggled with my dad's grief, as many others were. But because my mum was an addict and she was an alcoholic, that's what she turned to at the time. And Joey was living with her, and I thought I needed to take Joey away from her to look after him and protect him. But also as well understand that my mum, what she was doing wasn't right. And it's such a weird process with dealing with people with addiction, and it's something I've learned over the years as well, trying to understand it, that I would never understand really fully, particularly alcoholics. But you have to let them suffer in their own suffering. And that was the advice I got. You know, as much as you want to help and you want to be there for them, the hardest part is allowing them to suffer in their own suffering. So in order for them to reach rock bottom, and rock bottom can come in many ways: losing your house, losing your family, or, you know, it could just be simple as losing your job, whatever, because you want to isolate yourself in that position. So that was the hardest part to do, because all I wanted to do was fix. As a leader, I wanted to fix it. I can sort this out. I know I'm going to take reins. And why has no one ever helped her? And why has no one ever done this? When quite the opposite. You know, my dad tried to help as much as he could, and and it came to the point where he had to leave her for the sake of the family, because it was dragging my brother down, who was still living at home. I kind of had an escape with rugby, whereas I could go away to Hartbury College at the age of 16. I lived away from home, only went back every other weekend. So only saw my mum in snippets, XYZ. So that was you can't help someone in that state. They have to help themselves. But it was so hard to do that, and that's why I took Joey from hers, because she needed to realise that this is what happens when you're in that state. But there's all sorts going on. She hadn't got an emotional, rational thought process going on. And there's loads that I wouldn't even be able to delve into because it's too science based for me. Sociology, yeah, it's deep. So it's a deep root cause that you just never know the answer to. But so yeah, I took Joey. Joey's been with us now. Myself and Celia, we had a few tears at the beginning, but he's the most lovely temperament, and now he's a part of my mum essentially, which I can give the love and joy that she possessed and the kindness that she had in her heart and give to Joey, but also just also say like to look after something so pure, which I wish I could have done for my mum, but I couldn't, because you can't help as much as you want to.
So talking about it now, what is it that you want to achieve by discussing this? I mean, you're processing, it's part of your healing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you wish more people would know about addiction?
I want to try and get the taboo away from it, because I think a lot of the time, and I've been through this process from the age of, I'd say 14, whereas I resented my mum, I hated my mum, I was angry at my mum, but then I also loved my mum and I felt sorry for my mum. And there was all those emotions.
And they're all valid.
And all valid, 100%, 100%. But actually, it wasn't a choice. My mum didn't have a choice. We see it as, well, yeah, she chose to pick up that bottle and drink. She chose to order that alcohol into her house. But we're humans of survival, so we always want to pick what's going to help us survive. And that's what my mum, the disease of the illness of alcoholism, was. I need this bottle in order for me to survive my next day, XYZ. And it releases dopamine and all those chemicals in your brain, which then reinforces any habit that you then go, okay. Because we can all argue we're probably addicted to something, some sort of thing. You can be addicted to work, to rugby, to whatever.
Validation.
Yes, exactly. And there's so much of that, like we call it cheap dopamine in the world, scrolling through social media. And then we become addicted to it, which then XYZ. So that's my biggest messaging is, one, as someone living with someone with an addict, is you can't help them as much as you want to. All you can show is love and compassion and care for them, so you can just be there for them. And that's something I've learned massively.
A bit like any illness sufferer. Any illness. If you had a family member who was going through any cancer, all you can do, you can't heal that.
No.
You are just the support act. Your role is to be there for them in the ways that you can physically manifest.
100%. And that's I almost had I was grieving my dad while he was still alive, but I could understand that a bit more. He was ill. But then the amount of support he got was crazy. Like, as soon as you get told you got cancer and it's terminal, the amount of support you get is wild. Like, he was getting things paid for him. Oh, you can get a free car if you do this. It was just crazy. Whereas my mum, I was with her in these meetings going to get help. And it was like drawing blood from a stone.
It's looked at a different way,
the taboo around it is wild. Not even taboo. Well, it is taboo, yeah, but also the
stigma.
The stigma, yeah, and everything that comes with it. So it was just, that's really what stuck on with me. And I thought, she wanted help. She'd say to me, I want to get better, Meg. I really want to get better. And then, she'd go out of her way. She had high anxiety. She had high levels of depression as well. And I'd take her to these meetings and, it'd just be a tick box for this. And it was just so hard to see, because she did really want to get better. She did really want to get better. And I carry so much guilt with that as well, because, part of me, and a lot of it is like, yeah, you can't help her. And I realised that, but you just think, could I have just done something slightly different? I called ambulances on her. She refused treatment and stuff like that, because she was a nurse and she gave so much to everyone. She understood how it all worked. She never wanted to go to the hospital because she felt embarrassed. She felt so much shame. She carried so much shame on what she was doing. She never wanted us to come and visit her house. So there was just all of that. And I just felt guilty that I just said yeah to her, like, oh, don't come see me. Oh, okay, Mum, that's fine. I won't come and see you, because that's what I thought she wanted. When actually her picking up the phone to me to say don't come was almost like a cry for help, in the sense of like, I don't want you to come because I feel shame, but please help me. Because she was a deep human, she just never showed anything other than, I'm strong for my family, I work ridiculously hard. You know, she, whether this is a weird flex or not, but she worked like 33 night shifts on the bounce. That was like, she had like the best rapport in the ward. But that resilience and hard work that.
Because what does she do?
She's a nurse. She's a T4 neuro nurse. So she works with those with severe like brain damage, and so yeah, she'd be looking after everyone 24/7, come home, and then not look after herself. So it was so hard to see. But yeah, I think, yeah, for everything, you know, of course, she was an alcoholic, but on top of that, she was this beautiful soul and kindest human. I just wish she'd saw how much influence she had on the world. And I always used to say, but I wish I could have given her my level of self-esteem and confidence, because that's all she needed.
But you are her greatest testimony.